I'm talking about. Mr. Jeff Iafredi, man. I love that dude.
We'll
How
keep
you
him.
gentlemen doing this morning?
What's
How you doing, Sean?
I'm
Rod?
doing good, man. Doing good. I'm feeling good. It's good to be here with the guys. I mean, I get to be with the Rod father. That's an offer I can't refuse. Are you kidding me? Let's go.
Woo, man. And you know what? I love good news, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the good news. Man.
Here's some good news. Media Day's 2 weeks away, gentlemen. Preseason's 2 weeks away. Basketball is on the horizon.
I'm so pumped.
October 2. It feels like Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. You can open some gifts. You'll open real basketball instead of looking at just Rico Hines runs and questionable non-cone highlights that we're seeing.
Rod, when you were on the beat, what time of year would you start getting excited or get the itch to get back to basketball? Because I know, like, obviously at the end of the year, you're like, oh, I'm thrilled, like the off season, let's go. I can get away, I can relax. But I know talking to James and some other people, I know there's a certain point where you're ready to get back to it.
I get a jolt when the schedule comes out because it literally maps out 6 months of your life to say where you're going to be, what your travel is going to be like. And it sets up the rest of it. And then you go into this hibernation after the schedule comes out. Like there's nothing else important that's going to happen. We talk about the runs that they have, and it's all it is just data points. But you get excited right around media day because it's going to rev back up, and you get to see people again. Because again, it's when you're on the beat, you see those people every day. The players every day, the coach every day. So it's like the first day of school. You're coming back from that summer break and you jump right back in the routine of covering the team and talking to guys. And sometimes the guys were just as excited to hear about what you did during the summer as you are to hear about what they did. And what kind of work they did and what they worked on. But it's a family atmosphere there with the players if you can build that type of rapport.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing. We talked about that last week too, Sean, when we had Mike Curtis on, and it's like a family reunion, man. Like a back to school, and it's awesome because Rod spoke about this kind of in the beginning of us starting this. Detroit media is a little bit different, especially that Pistons room. I feel people pulling for each other. I feel people wanting to see people do good. You know how many compliments I got from people like Omari Sankofa, Mike Curtis, Vinny Goodwill, Vince Ellis. Like just everybody. Steve Stuckey. Shout out to my man Steve Stuckey. Like I can't wait to see him again. Like so many people. Greg Kelser, Earl Curitan, Rick Mahorn. So many people that just want to see you do good. Even people that, like you said, Rod, in some of these other rooms, there might be competition or they might not support each other quite the same. But here, it's been different. And it makes you more eager to actually do your job and to support other people, man. It's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. But let me get this one. That was a great question, Sean. I'm going to get more into that on the other end of this. Before we get into the meat of our topics today, we're going to talk a little bit about Jaden Ivey.
Meat and potatoes.
Talking about Marvin Bagley and get into some Pistons stuff. So what up, though, people? It's your boy Brandon Dent, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, and you're rocking out with the Woodward Pistons podcast on the Woodward Sports Network. And guys, Jeff Iafredi, as you already know, is holding it down strong on the Morning Woodward show. We got content coming. I promise you guys that it's on the way. Piston season. We also have my guy, my bro, love you, bro, Sean Murphy from Half Court. Bro, I haven't done that in forever. But we got content coming to this channel, a whole lot of it. And you guys you'll love it. You'll be well fed, well taken care of, and you will love it. But Sean, I need your help, bro, because it's drum roll time for the legend up there. Ready?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's go. Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome to the legend, Detroit News, Rod Beard. Brother, as always, welcome to the show. And how are you doing? Let's go. Look like he might be in delay.
I'm in a little delay, but I'm back. I'm just I'm energized, man. It's Wednesday. Usually you start to feel a little worn down on a Wednesday. I'm I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's start this Wednesday. Get this week finished up.
Let's go. Well, look, Sean kind of alluded to it as well. We are right on the precipice, right on the cusp of the Pistons season. And we talk about all the different events and things as media that we get to attend that just kind of makes it even more sweet. And one of those events is actually happening today. The Detroit Pistons announced yesterday that they're going to be unveiling the last of their and dedicating the last of their park renovations. And I'm going to bring up some of the information here. And I'm actually pretty happy about it. It says Detroit Pistons, City of Detroit, to unveil final court of 6-year, $2.5 million basketball court renovation and refurbishment project. 60 basketball courts refurbished in 44 different parks throughout the city of Detroit. And it says Detroit Pistons and the city of Detroit, along with Mayor Mike Duggan, will hold a press event at Hallworth Park in Detroit on Wednesday. That's today at 1:30 p.m. to celebrate the completion of the final phase of the organization's 6-year commitment. To me, it's awesome to see what Tom Gores and the Pistons organization, as well as people like Earl Cureton and Rick Mahorn, who have been like heavy community advocates for the Pistons. It's just been an awesome thing. I appreciate you, Sean. I see you brought it up there. Sean is on point, you guys. Thank you, brother.
Always.
Thank you, brother. Like I'm excited for what this brings to the city because it shows that the Pistons are true to their commitment to bettering Detroit on the ground level. Like a lot of times people say, well, teams come in here and they're about just using our tax money to build an arena. He didn't do that. He literally didn't do that. All that he's doing for the city of Detroit is brought his team here to make it more accessible to people. And he has employed every aspect, it seems, of his company, from platinum equity all the way down to the last person on the bench, to have some type of community impact for this city and the surrounding areas, from drives during the winter where they're giving out coats and food. I see all of the different enrichment programs. To be at the DIA event that Rick Mahorn and Earl Cureton do every year with the Pistons, being a huge donor within this thing, that type of stuff is awesome. Even with Cade Cunningham, they helped Cade. He had his own endeavors, and when they did the cold drive here, Cade was like, can I do this back home too? And their ability to be able to say, you know what, let's help facilitate this with our players. I love that their focus is not just on winning on the court, but we always hear them talk about the off the court impact as well. So I look forward to getting down there and seeing people today. And I just wanted to be able to make sure we broke that little bit of news because it's more of like basketball. I know Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey will be down there, so hopefully we can get some content with those guys in. But any thoughts on that, guys, before we go to Rod's thought of the day?
No, Erica Squilly, who's the head of their community and public responsibility sort of community service arm, we'll call it that. She always says they're number one in the community, no matter what they're doing on the court. So she is a quality person. And so she'll be there as well. But that's awesome. That's just cool to see that they're doing stuff. And I've always said, too, that I wanted them to do something bigger, to do a community center. And that's sort of what they're doing over in the Rouge Park area, is trying to do that. Because basketball courts are basketball courts.
Yep.
On one hand, and we're in Michigan, so you're really only
so breaking up just a little bit.
Get what 6 months to use out of a basketball court.
Ooh, you there, Rod? Looks like he's breaking away a little bit. Sean, I wanted to get your thoughts on where Rod's connection gets figured out.
Yeah, man. I think in particular, this team, ever since Tom Gores, brought them back into Detroit proper, has really made a conscious effort to really, reconnect in the city. And, obviously the Pistons have always had an element of community focus, an element of, of trying to assist in their community. But, as much as they would try to do when they played in Auburn Hills, there was just always that inherent disconnect. And so, just everything that they've been doing, in the city and all of the efforts they've made, and, the courts that they've made are beautiful as well. But, to like what Rod was saying, about community centers, it is vital because, there's only so much you can do with courts. You can provide, like a beautiful, safe place for people to learn the game. But ultimately, those community centers are where people can get role models and people can get, tools and assistance to help them through their day-to-day lives. And, so I think that's that's really the big thing, is the more that we can help lift up the community in Detroit and as a whole, that's always a win. As much as we want to see them win on the court, the biggest thing is seeing Detroit win as a city. So love to see it.
Yep,
Man,
there you go.
That was well said, man, because it's bigger than just the basketball on the court. And if people don't quite understand that, what are we doing then? What are we
The bigger picture, man.
Yeah, it's about, to me, pulling a community together. And that's what I experienced. One of the things that I'm looking forward to the most is getting back out on the concourse during the season. The interactions with the fans. You were at some of those games with me, Sean. It's different because it wasn't just basketball. People were like, yeah, we know we're not going to win many games this year, but we believe in the product on the floor. And look at this city. Look at this environment. Look at the people. I interview some people. I'm like, so, you guys friends? And I'm like, no, we just met here. I'm just like, that's awesome. And I love that that's kind of the vibes that's going on for a team right now that's trying to restore.
Yeah.
Now, one of those players, and unless you guys, we're not going to go there yet. I got to get Rod's thoughts. I almost went to Jaden Ivey. But Rod, I need your thoughts, man.
I'll go off the board a little bit and talk about our Detroit Lions. And you have to be measured in everything you do because, and I think we said it before, it's always when you get your hopes up is when Lucy comes and snatches the ball away from you. That we've seen this movie so many times before, and you can make a statement by saying we're coming out 2-0. But if you started looked at the schedule and said they'd be 1-1, they'd win one of those first two games, you'd be happy with that. But the diehard fans who are like, we're going and we're gonna shock the world. Sports just is not that way. Whether it's football, basketball, hockey, it's just not that way. The team with the best record does not win the championship every year. It just doesn't work that way. So just chill, enjoy the ride. You've been nationally relevant for a couple of weeks now. Let's enjoy the ride right now and not get the cart before the horse in terms of saying this team is going to go and blow the doors off the NFL. Kansas City was an excellent win. You come home and you beat Seattle, and now you make a statement, but didn't do that. Let's just take one game at a time now. I sound like a coach. I've been around too many coaches because I'm just that is a Dwayne Casey speech if I've ever heard one.
100%. It's not what the people want to hear, but listen, the reality of it is, like, you don't want to hear this, but like, fan is short for fanatic. People do not act rationally when they love something and when they invest in something, especially when you only see them play once a week, when you've seen the Lions, fail and be like Charlie Brown and fall on their back 50 times when they're going to kick the ball. And, to your point, Rod, it felt like it was like, after that first game in Kansas City, it felt like some fans were starting to get their rings, their fingers checked for ring sizes. And it was like, all right, like, let's calm down. This is a 17-game season. And, obviously it's difficult to see them lose at home, but also difficult to see them lose all those key pivotal players that they brought in the offseason. Injuries are always brutal, but I mean, this is one of the constants in football is injuries. And I feel like if anything, the teams that are truly great are the ones that can overcome it. And was this season ever really a Super Bowl year? Because to my knowledge, this was let's try for the NFC North in maybe a playoff game. Like, do we remember what team we're rooting for?
Like, Sean, man, are you telling me right now that I have to go and return my my Super Bowl replica ring? I had one made for the Lions. I have to go and have this Super Bowl tattoo removed from my nah.
Like, guys, make no mistake.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. This ain't the same old Lions, but this is the Lions.
That is exactly my point. They are still the Lions somewhere. At the end of the day, it's still the Lions. You got
my word. Sean, that is well said. Rod, I feel that, man. And I was sharing this with Sean as well. I think I told you this too, Rod, that I was talking with Terry Foster as Detroit Kool-Aid, man. Shout out to the heavyweights. We were hosting a show on Woodward Sports Network. And I told him, like, Rod, like, Terry, are you serious? Like, we're able to look at this team the way that, Patriots, 49ers, Seahawks fans have been able to look at their team? Because for me personally, though I know this is the best this organization has had from owner to GM to coach to players and to even outlook, is still the Lions, man. Like, we've never been able to think of them in that type of capacity. And so for me, though I'm going to root them on and cheer for them, I have to walk gingerly, man. It's a different step, different pace to it, and just kind of feel this out. And honestly, I think it allows us as fans to really take in all that's going on around us as it relates to Lions, all of it, beyond the ride, beyond the ups, beyond the downs. You know, the fair weather, that's not for this season. I understand in previous seasons when they continue to run it back, doing things the same way they always have. But this team is doing things different, all the way down to the point, Sean and I were talking about it, losing CJ, GJ, that's hard. That's a blow. We're not going to sit here and try and sugarcoat that. But he can still be a leader. His voice can still be impactful. And that was a strength of the team. When have we said that? We lost our best safety, and we still have like Tracy Walker and others on the squad who can really step up. And really, we have a team where we can say, next man up.
This isn't like losing Cade Cunningham in any way.
No.
But that, I made that my point today to kind of give a bridge for Pistons fans when they turn the corner the same way the Lions have, that it's not you're gonna go win the title. There's a progression to everything. That make the playoffs first, and then we can talk about what comes after that. But it's sort of, when you look at Denver had to go through some steps to sort of get there. Almost every team that's won a championship has gone through some steps, unless it's LeBron just add water. I mean, even that Miami Heat team had to go through some steps before they won a championship. So in that fanaticism, keep some groundedness and understand, it's going to take some time to sort of get there.
I think Pat Riley, like I forget the exact quote, but like, you know, like Pat Riley would say that, you know, like in order to win, first you have to start from the bottom, and then you have to make it to the playoffs, and you have to make it to the next round. Like you have to slowly, like incrementally chip away, because the reality of it is you have to get those experiences. And like, especially in the NBA, like to Rod's point, players reach their prime and get to the title on average at 27, 28 years old. And last time I checked, Cade just became legally able to drink. And as talented as he is, and as highly as we think of him, like he's got to get his reps, he's got to get his bumps, he's got to get his experience. And like, we all believe he can be that guy, but like, he's got to get some time first.
He's just got to stay healthy for a full year. Let's start at the basics.
And
he's got to mesh. And Brandon and I have been talking about this all summer, is he's got to mesh, and that chemistry is the number one thing, and the chemistry between the players, but also the chemistry with Monty Williams. You've got to figure some of that stuff out, and it may not happen this year. The schedule is going to be a little forgiving at the beginning, but then you hit this tough stretch where you don't have a lot of time to figure that stuff out.
You're right. And we
he's at an all-time high, guys. This league is stacked from top to bottom.
Yep. And we need to reprise that part two, because we did go over breaking down that first part of the schedule. But the back half, if this team does not hit its stride, it could derail some things, especially if they come up to an injury. Like, even if Cade is healthy, an injury to one of their pertinent pieces, whereas the Lions have depth to be able to sustain those types of hits, the Pistons aren't quite there yet. Some of their depth pieces are still very young or rookies right now. And so but I think that those are salient points, you know, to keep things kind of measured, keep things in a place of sensibility, so that you can truly, in my opinion, enjoy what's going on in front of you. I think it makes it that much sweeter when these teams start to win. When you can identify that they have the right people in place, honestly, unless this thing is getting into like a decade of rebuild, you kind of have to let them do their thing within their 4 or 5 year window. And then if you don't see that these things have, you know, produced a seed that's going to sprout, then I can understand if you want to start to have some angst. But what the Lions are doing right now, man, to see the amount of fans that are like trying to jump off the bandwagon and things of that nature, the same amount of saying like SOL is just coming out a week after it was like Super Bowl. It was just like, come on, guys, let's do something different, because the Pistons, in my opinion, they're about a year or two away from being able to really have, about 2 years away from being able to have Piston fans kind of at the point where the hope that Lions fans had coming into the season I believe that we're a couple years away from something like that with the Pistons if everything goes kind of according to the trends that we've been kind of all covering. You know, Sean with From Half Court, Rod on here and other places, as well as people like Mike Curtis and Jeff who visit the channel and the platform as well. So, man, I love sports, man. I love Detroit sports. I really do.
Yeah, I'm just
that.
glad I was able to get you guys started on a hype foot. So
Yes,
you
sir.
guys got it from here. But yeah, we'll be back next week.
Hey, let me get that drum roll out. Let me get that going first. Hey, yo, man, shout out to the legend Detroit News Rod Beard, brother. Thank you and salute, brother. Hey, have a blessed day. Tell Mike I look forward to seeing him a little bit later at this event. Well, when people are watching it, the event will be going on. So,
yep, there you go. Definitely. All right, guys, have a good show.
Hey, blessings, brother.
Good seeing you, Rod.
Yep, good seeing you, Sean.
What a life.
Sean Murphy. How are you doing today, brother?
Where did this voice come from?
Oh, I don't have my K Crusader.
Like, when did this become Dateline? I'm like,
it's so. But look, I'm looking for the K Crusader mask. I think my son took off with it the other day. He was running around the house, sneaking up on me and everything. I'm like, bro, you gotta chill. But now without the mask, the voice just sounds like, what is he doing? Stop whispering in my ear like that.
Okay, wait. You're doing a K Crusader impersonation? How do you even know what he sounds like?
You know what? He saved me one time from my irrational Pistons takes, and I heard his voice, and you know,
gosh, you came out full Robert Downey Jr. style. Said I'm Iron Man practically. My gosh,
bro,
no
man, look,
subtlety.
Bro, it's good to have you on the channel. I wanted to be able to have you on today. Definitely wanted to have you on with Rod Beard a little bit as well, man, because I think it's great conversation every time we get on the channel.
Yeah, it was fun to chop it up. And you know, one last thing about the Lions, real quick. You know, I think if this last weekend I think was anything, I think it was like a comeback down to earth, so to speak, because I think we've been riding a irrational high for about 9 months now. Because we had the fortune of our last 2 games being some of the best in franchise history. And not every week can be like that. No. So I think if anything, let's just remember this is still football. There's 15 weeks of this left. Let's just have fun. Because this team's actually pretty good.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, guys, Sean has been a voice of reason this morning, especially on the Lions. Listen to him. And one of the things I know Jeff just said is that, hey, listen, in terms of the first 2 teams you could start the season off with, I think the Lions had a gauntlet and they came out 1-1 and lost in overtime.
Yep.
Let's be patient. And honestly, I think that it's good that we do this with the Lions and take that approach, because I think this Pistons season is going to have some people questioning the rebuild this year. I think this Pistons season can have people questioning their fandom and questioning everything that's gone into play so far, when in reality, what I'm seeing is a team that is putting the ground, all of the foundation. They're saying, you know what? We are willing to take these lumps if we know that we're doing and building the foundation the right way. And that's a hard place to be. I don't think people understood Troy Weaver wasn't here to do a rebuild like Stan Van Gundy. He was here to do an all-out, our foundation is done. I was in Ann Arbor yesterday, man, driving around, and they were gutting out the foundation of a building. They had to go all the way down, bro. They had to expose old broken pipes and things that they didn't even know were issues until they got down into that foundation and realized we have cracks, we have leaks, we got this, we got that. Bro, all them basements that flood in Southeast Michigan every time it rains, that was the Pistons for years, bro. Troy Weaver's job was to come in and not just build a team on top of a crappy foundation, but to excavate the whole thing and start over and put in a whole new foundation. He said that the teams effectively between going to work years and when he came in, they were not building on the same foundation that even the going to work Pistons were. That's why the restore is a thing. And he said, now we are going to restore back to the levels of championship pedigree, championship paths, the ways that those guys thought, the types of players they had. Why? Because in every era that the Pistons did that, it didn't matter what era the basketball world was in. It didn't matter if the basketball world was trying to score points. The Pistons, 04 Pistons said, you'll get 68. That's what they said. You will score 68 and we're scoring 80 and we're winning. We don't care about anything else. We're going to play physical. We're going to do this. The bad boys, we're going to put you in your butt until they tell us we can't. You know, and so to me personally, I like what the Pistons are doing. Obviously, that's no
Yep.
secret. But there's a reason and a rhyme for what they're doing, and that foundation matters, man. Like I hope people understand that the Lions built a foundation. That's what Brad Holmes, Sheila Hamp. I'm not putting the. I think I heard she dropped it, the family name, and Dan Campbell and these players who have bought in, bro. Like I want people to understand. I believe we can transfer kind of the faith and hope and belief that we have in this Lions team and them rebuilding their foundation. We need to have that same vibe for the Pistons, in my opinion, because I truly believe that they're doing it right. I wouldn't get on this camera and try to lie to folks, bro.
I think, obviously as, as fans, as people that, follow this team, you want to see them, finally turn the corner and see that success because, it has been, so long. It has been since, 2008 since we've seen this team win a playoff game. And, absolutely I'm on the train of, wanting to see them get back to that, place of prevalence as quickly as humanly possible. But you can't hold, the current regime, to the same timeline and hold against them the transgressions and sins of the past front offices, the past general managers, the past coaches, because, the reality of it is that, they truly started from ground zero. They had to, start from rock bottom. And, this season really is going to have to be, first figuring out what we have with Cade, what we have, in the young players that we have, because a lot of that work was missed. Yeah, a lot of that work was missed last season. But the reality of it is that doesn't mean that this team can't still win more games, that this team still can't be more competitive. It doesn't mean that they can't still turn a corner and show those bases of identity, right? I mean, like this can be like a Phoenix Suns team in the bubble that still missed the playoffs. That wasn't quite good enough to get into the play-in tournament. But you know what they did do? They won every single game in the bubble. They beat top stars. They hung in every single night. They showed identity of what they were going to be going forward. And the next season, they made the finals. Who was coaching that team, Kool-Aid?
My man Monty Williams, bro. Like,
who's coaching this team, Kool-Aid?
Monty Williams.
Oh,
Monty Williams. All summer, bro. Who are the coaches? We were like, Monty's a pipe dream, but man, dog, if we could get, Green from the Pelicans, and he's off his coaching tree, right? Like, I'm serious. Like, this was what we wanted. This is what we needed. And you made some great points. Do you know how many people don't even really care or remember that the Phoenix Suns did not make the playoffs that year? They know the run they went on. They say, yo, they were the team of the bubble. They were the best. Yeah. I just saw the Breakthrough documentary, man. Go check that out. The Phoenix Suns Breakthrough documentary. Rod and I covered it, I believe, 2 weeks ago, I think. It was either 2 weeks ago or last week. I forget which episode it was. And it had a lot of great information about the foundation that Monty Williams set. So if we're looking for what Monty Williams is going to be, we have a video on the channel where we broke it down, but also go to look at the Phoenix Suns channel as well. So shout out to them for that. And you get a dearth of who Monty Williams is. And to hear the players talk about the fact that his first thing he did in the door was checked everybody's egos so we could actually help each other truly. That to me was cool. Jevon Carter, a guy that a lot of Detroit Pistons fans and Detroit Pistons organization is very, very high on. He even said, bro, yeah, they check everybody's ego at the door, even Books. And then after that, it was about speeding up the way that they played. They said that Devin Booker, though he can ISO and though he's going to have his time to ISO, the one of the chief things they did was said that they want that ball moving. That's something we didn't see last year. They had plays, bro, where they would swing it from side to side to side, just around the horn, and you could see the other team's defense start to get tired and make cracks. Now, look, they have, and this is why Monty Williams did things this way. I'm glad you brought that up. He has this philosophy to attack the rim. So when their driving lane opens, I want you putting a body through the rim. That's like, look at the Breakthrough documentary, bro. I'm like, Monty Williams got it, bro. Like, I'm ready for what he's going to do to this young squad. And that's the benefit of swinging the ball around the horn with athletic, speedy players, because as soon as the defense makes one mistake, that's a lob to Jalen Duren. As soon as the defense makes one mistake and you drop it into the middle, that's a backdoor cut and you're getting banged on by Jaden Ivey. That's what this is going to be. And these are just the basketball X's and O's things, like the plays that he's bringing, the intrinsic value that he's brought. When you look at that documentary, I think you'll like it, bro. You're going to be like, yeah, he's going to take the Pistons to a new level because everybody knew what Devin Booker was, but who he became after Monty Williams, that's a superstar.
Right. Absolutely. And, again, like, you want to see this team, like, take those next steps and get to those places you want it to be. But, again, as we were talking about with Rod earlier, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to take those next steps and get to those places. And if this team were to get over the 30 win hump, get a 13-14 win jump over last season and be competitive every night, even when they lose, I would still say, I think any fan would say that that's a fun season. That's definitely a jump from where we were last year. Is it the jump that some fans are going to want? Obviously not. And, of course you want to see, the Pistons of the playoffs right away, of course,
Yeah.
but that's just not how this league works.
It's not. And there are anomalies. There are people who have found that quick success, but the ones that have found sustained success are the ones that have that foundation built the right way. They're not just fly by nights. They're not just popping up and then gone like after a year or two, because they are basically what the Pistons were doing. We've seen the Pistons. The Pistons were that team. We've seen them buy playoff runs or buy a playoff appearance. We saw them do that with Blake Griffin. We saw them do that with Stanley Johnson. We saw it. We saw them go out there and what with Stanley Johnson, they went and they bought Tobias Harris. They went and bought one of the Morris twins. They went out there and bought players, and they were good enough to make the AFC. You can do that in the NBA every single year, bro. You can push a button and say, "I want to make the AFC every year. Or I want to make the play-in every year."
The Bulls have been doing it ever since Jordan left.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a path to that every year. I'm so glad the Pistons are saying, you know what? We would rather take our lumps right now rather than continue to be one of those teams, because it wasn't sustainable, bro. That was not sustainable. For as good as Blake Griffin was, it put even way too much stress on him. It's not sustainable when your top players have to effectively put themselves underneath a physical gun the way he did. And so to now see what they're doing and that they're bringing in a Monty, you know why I think they need Monty especially? It's because of, in my opinion, the types of players this Pistons core has. Asard Thompson, in terms of being a wing player and us wondering about his development and whatnot, bro, one of the things that they talked about in this breakthrough documentary was how well Monty Williams worked with wing players, bro. Like, he had a rack of them that he took from kind of middling potential to these are guys that are getting big bags right now. They're getting contracts right now, from Mikal Bridges to Kelly Oubre to, I'm forgetting the other one, and they included Devin Booker in there as well as the switchables. I'm excited for what he can do.
Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson.
There you go.
Yep.
And it's when we look at this squad, the other thing that I'm going to really be focusing on is how he made them share the ball. That's why I started with that. He said, less ISO, more swing the ball. And Devin, when you get it on a swing and you see your defender is like racing to get to you, go to the mid-range. Just take one dribble, get in there and pull up, because they're already on their back heels. You know what I mean? And so when you look at the amount of talent we have, the amount of ball handling talent we have, we need a coach that has the type of pedigree and the type of kind of play designs that Monty has. I think it will benefit a guy like Jaden Ivey, who is showing, I believe, a lot more than we thought he could have. His ball handling skills, his playmaking skills, his ability to hit the three-point shot, his ability to get assists in bunches. These were questions we had when we were drafting him. He's answering these questions at a pretty, in his rookie year, bro. That's pretty fast. Yeah. And now when you're looking at some of the runs, you're starting to see that three-point shot is looking pure. His ability to try and get in and get shifty and get into the paint off the pick and rolls is looking good. You know, I believe that Monty's the perfect coach to be able to balance guys like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey.
And the thing that I think is going to be such an advantage for Monty day one is, you talk about how he came in day one and checked everyone's egos. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to do that in Detroit. Because Troy Weaver specifically built a locker room and designed a franchise, that was high character. They talked about they would put this locker room against anybody in the league. Monty came in, talked about how blown away he was that every single player on the team was there. Even guys that were waived a week later were in the building, were there for his press conference. And he talked about how, he thinks it's going to be as good for him as it can be for the players. And so you look at the reality that these are all guys who have talked about since getting here. They just want to win. They just want to win. They don't care if, they don't care about the touches. Guys like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, all they've talked about, if you hear them talk about each other, is how much they have love and respect for each other, how much they want to win, how much they want to work together. When you have that from day one, when you have two ball-centric, heavy guards, that's what you need for that relationship to work. The reason why Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas is one of the best backcourt duos in history is because they have a love and a respect for each other and an admiration for each other because they had a chemistry that we didn't see until the Splash Brothers. Like, that's the reality of it. And so, like, when Cade and Ivy, like, when you talk about the foundations for a great backcourt duo, we're seeing what you need for the success. And also, they have complementing skill sets, despite people talking about how they don't, quite fit or how, why are you getting two guards in the backcourt? Like, I mean, Cade's a super cerebral, elite playmaker. Jaden Ivey is a game-breaking athlete with a set of eyes of his own. I mean, Kool-Aid, you and I both know how dynamic this can be. And I mean, I truly, like, I don't say those names lightly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. Like, I think you bring up a lot of great points as it relates to really have people accept what's about to happen with the Detroit Pistons, because Troy Weaver even talked about it as well, saying, I really want to see what Monty can do with these guys before I even go and take a sledgehammer to any more or any other part of this roster, man.
Yeah. Jack Kelly posted earlier today on Twitter some highlights from Jaden Ivey's game against Indiana last April. And I feel like for me too, this was like one of the nights where like it truly felt like, all right, we have something here in Jaden, because like this was truly like, I believe this was the last win that we had of the season, but also this was, like Jaden Ivey, fully, showcasing how he evolved as a player throughout the season. And like, especially you look at their first game in Indiana when they played in December and how much he struggled that night, in contrast to when he went to Indiana in April and just tore them apart in every single facet of the game. In all three levels. I mean, he was looking confident in his jump shot. He was looking confident in the pick and roll. He was finding guys all over the court.
I got something for you too, Sean.
Jaden Ivey was doing whatever he wanted that night.
Look,
and so, and I mean, you talk about what he can potentially, like how he can carry that in this season with Monty Williams at the helm and with Cade Cunningham at his side. I mean,
look, bring that back up, brother. Bring that back up.
Yeah.
Did I send you the clip of Jaden Ivey? Did I send you a clip?
No, you sent me Marvin Bagley.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a Jaden Ivey one as well. But pull up the one you just did again, so I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to see that one, because there's a couple plays in there that kind of go hand in hand with another post that I saw when doing some research for this podcast. Who is he doing pick and rolls with?
Well, Jalen Duren was one of them. Marvin Bagley was the other.
And you'll see. Where's Jimmy at?
Where's Jimmy?
Yeah. Let me see. Was he on the roster at this time, or was it just Bags and Duren?
No. Oh, James Wiseman. I was like, Jimmy, like, what the heck?
So I was sitting there like, huh?
Yeah, he was on the roster at the time. He might have, I think he was out the last couple games with like an injury or something though. So he might not have played that night.
Yep. All right. I'm going to find this clip a little bit later, but somebody remarked remember when Jaden Ivey went off and had that assist streak?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the big man during that time? Jimmy.
Yep.
And they have the clips of how well they played together in the pick and roll. And this is before James Wiseman got into the shape that we know he's now in.
Him and Duren have a great chemistry as well. Ivy just really developed over the season, with all the bigs. He had a pretty good chemistry with.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when we talk about this Detroit Pistons team, the maturation of it, and this is why I wanted to be able to look at a Jaden Ivey, because we talk a lot about Cade Cunningham. And I believe that Cade Cunningham is a game changer. But when you talk about the rest of this squad, I do believe it's more than just Cade and the rest. I do.
Yep.
I believe that Jaden Ivey is a game-changing player. I don't believe that he is at this stage better at his craft at that what Cade Cunningham provides for the Pistons. I believe that they're 1A and 1B. There's Batman and Superman. That's what I truly believe. Both superstars, both superheroes, not sidekicks. But I believe that this is a year where we actually might see that there's probably not a delineation between the two as it relates to what they provide. So whereas Cade Cunningham is this absolute star connector, I believe Jaden Ivey is going to be a dynamo on the court, bro. He's going to be something you cannot contain, especially if Cade Cunningham is going off. We haven't seen Jaden Ivey getting busy while all the attention's on Cade yet.
Yep, because Jaden Ivey can no longer be the number one guy in your scouting report. You have to account for Cade. You have to account, for everybody on the court, even when Bojan's on the court as well. Like you have to really decide, offensively who you're going to be guarding because you have some real threats, offensively in Detroit now. I mean, you have at least 4 guys on the court that can systematically pick you apart in some way, some fashion.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like I was going through some stuff and I was looking at, okay, who is Jaden Ivey in the pick and roll? And that's where I was just like, you know what? This team has a little bit more to it than we think. And it makes me a little bit more bullish on the Pistons. I believe that they're going to be a team that is very competitive, especially if they can hit the ground running. They have a pretty favorable schedule to start the season.
Yep.
But I believe that Jaden Ivey is honestly going to be the key to that. Like Cade is going to do what Cade does. But if Jaden Ivey proves to be a true, like ahead of schedule, like I believe he already proved, did you think he could shoot the way he did coming into the season? I did.
No.
I wasn't going to tell him you can't do it. We all said, let's see if he can answer the questions. He wasn't asked to do a lot. So we'll see. Did you think he could do the mid-range the way he came into the Pistons and continue to improve? Remember when I said
thought that was going to be like a year 2, year 3 thing. He was doing that like month 2, month 3 thing. It was insane.
Talk about it. That's what I'm saying. It's absolutely insane. Here we go. Here's one of their pick and rolls.
And I'm excited.
All right, I'm gonna send it to you right now so you can throw it up there. What are you saying, no, brother?
And I'm excited to see how he does in the defensive end this year as well. In particular, just with Jalen Duren on his back line, with Cade Cunningham on his side, Monty Williams, there to really, mentor him and be alongside him on that. Jarrett Jack on the baseline as well. I just think you have a levity of resources and people in his ear that can, he has all the tools to be really good on that end.
Yep, he does. Did you get that video? I want to show people just the potential. This is what I love about James Wiseman, and I love the maturation in Jaden Ivey's game. Look at this, bro. This is not with Monty Williams' offense. This is not with Monty Williams' philosophy. This is just Jaden Ivey learning how to be a point guard and a facilitator on the fly. And they're using their speed, they're using their athleticism, they're using their basketball IQ. Like, play it one more time, just so you can see even James Wiseman. I don't know if this was a play that they had designed, or if it was just, if it's out of bounds, it's probably a play. Right. He was ready for it. And to me, I think the play is to get Jaden Ivey a quick layup or a quick dunk, but the Bulls stayed home because Killian Hayes' guy stayed in the paint. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which means James Wiseman. That's what I'm saying. When we talk about, I want James Wiseman because of this or that, or I don't know if this player can do X, Y, and Z. When I look at plays like this, when the players are still learning, when James Wiseman was saying, I'm trying to get my win back. I ain't played ball. I haven't hooped. And they're able to make plays like that. And there were other plays between James Wiseman and Jaden Ivey, a lot of them. Because there was a period in time where they were like the 2 main players on the squad when everybody else got injured. That's the stuff that kind of makes me, it makes me excited for what's to come because they're answering the questions. They're answering the questions.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Look, I want to bring up Marvin Bagley as well. You showed him in a couple of those clips. If you could bring up that other video that was sent over.
Yep.
As well, I want people to be able to get this because I think Marvin Bagley is. Can we say that Marvin Bagley could be an X factor for this squad? Like a dark horse candidate to be somebody who you can see that maybe this squad can have some success moving forward without him. But what if Marvin Bagley is actually Marvin Bagley this year? The impact he made when he first came to the Pistons versus the fact that we know he is a bucket. We're not saying he don't have deficiencies, but what if he actually prove something this season.
If you told me Marvin was off the roster before training camp, I would believe you. If you told me Marvin had a solid place in the rotation, was getting 20 plus, 20 plus minutes a night, I would believe you. Like that's the interesting, dichotomy with Marvin Bagley. Like we've seen, the flashes and the glimpses of why he can bring value. We've seen, the bursts where he can get 10, 15 points a game without any offense drawn up for him, and just all off of improvisation, second chances, crashing the glass. You know, for me, with Marvin, it's just, it's for one, biggest thing, and it's always just going to be the biggest thing with him. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the court for any stretch of time? And obviously, some of that stuff, is unlucky. Some of that stuff is just like unfortunate, but at the same time, like, it's just, it is just particularly frustrating when, it just feels like at any time he gets a 10 game stretch, 12 game stretch, immediately, he's off the court for some reason. And, hopefully, if he can get some consistent run this season, especially if he's going to be coming in with that second unit, I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make some stuff happen. If he's playing with Monte Morris, if he's playing with, also with, Cade and Ivy and, in staggered minutes, I think, I think the table's set, for lack of better terms, for him to be able to have, a good season to do some things. But on the other hand, there is also the element that him and James Wiseman do have very similar games. And so my question is, how do they fit alongside each other? What's the rotation, with those two guys? What's the plan with both of them on the roster long term? That's going to be obviously a very big question. But I mean, I think Marvin is like, if you're like, all right, if the Pistons are better than expected this season, if they get to the play-in, why? One of the reasons would have to be Marvin Bagley, because he is one of the guys on this team that is dynamic enough. He was like, him and James Wiseman both were drafted number 2 overall for a reason. They might not, in hindsight, they might not be drafted there again, but they were drafted there for a reason. And so, like there is still a lot of reasons to be invested in what they can be. You still don't want to give up on them, while they're under team friendly contracts. And, you want to see at the very least, I want to see the first 20 plus games, what Marvin can do. You know what I mean? But, but beyond that, like if he isn't that guy, I don't think there will be much patience for him. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that you put that very succinctly, because we're not trying to make the case necessarily for Marvin Bagley, but we're really just going and assessing based off what we see, based off what we know with this roster. And it's like, there is a way that Marvin Bagley can absolutely be an X factor, because I think you used a good word for him. He is dynamic, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And what I loved about the clips that we saw there is that he's working on the part of his game that I think helps him actually be able to better fit alongside James Wiseman if they have minutes together. If Marvin Bagley could be that guy that, when you drop it into the paint, he is your back to the basket guy. I don't think we have another guy on the roster like that. I think he's our only surefire. When you drop it into the post with his back to the basket, he can get you a bucket. That's what I love about it. He wasn't practicing threes. I saw him earlier in the summer practicing threes when we went to the Pistons practice facility. And his video, it looked like somebody told him or gave him a role or said, hey, this, or his team or whoever is working with him, and they said, we want you pounding the paint. We want the footwork. We want your one dribble to be solid, because there were times when he would get the ball in one dribble and that boy would bounce out and he would be sitting there like, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like you had the smaller guy when you like just take him. And I think that comes from reps. These players, James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley, have not been able to really get the reps. They just haven't. They were in previous situations out in California where teams were just like number 2 picks, whatever. We don't care about your development. We don't care. If you're not coming in to fit what we have right now, then nah. But with the Pistons, I've noticed these players transform their bodies. I've noticed these players try to work on expanding their games, and I've seen them work at also trying to improve in areas where the Pistons can absolutely use them. And that's what I've liked about James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley this summer, to be honest with you, is that regardless if they're here long-term or not, they are at least buying into whatever this organization is saying. And I think that they're looking better for it. They both have lost a lot of weight. I believe that if we can get James Wiseman to be more of that, what He's not going to be what Bol is, but I think he has more of that skill set in him. A little bit of ball handle, a little bit of wiggle. We see him go, from taking the ball off the rim on the defensive side, taking it all the way down the court on the offensive side, and being able to facilitate or finish. I could see there being times where Marvin Bagley's only job, when the ball comes off the rim, run down the court and get in post position, and James Wiseman is going to bring it up and drop it to you, and then he's going to cut. I can see weird stuff like that, because when that type of stuff happens, what are you going to do? You're going to leave Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey or Bojan Bogdanovic to stop a streaking James Wiseman down the middle, who's going to catch a lob pass or a drop pass from Marvin Bagley? That type of stuff to me is just like, yeah, because if they do leave Bojan or if they do leave Cade, your eye is getting dotted. That's just how it's going down.
Yep.
So it's like, I'm glad to see these guys working on it. Marvin Bagley is to me is the question to me, like this year. I believe that you either turn him into an asset during the season. I give him his opportunities, let him shine, put him out there. Even if James Wiseman is the guy that you think is on a much more friendly deal, you like his talents, he's still unscratched, and that surface has barely been scratched, a little bit younger than Marvin Bagley, then put Bagley out there and feature him. Like you said, them 20 games, either turn him into your absolute X factor or into somebody very, very valuable to your roster as an asset that can be traded, which has been Troy Weaver's MO this entire time, bro.
Yeah, I think ultimately, like when you talk about, like, because again, if Bagley doesn't do that, when we talk about most likely, if there was a superlative of most likely to be traded that's not named Killian Hayes, it's Marvin, 100%. And like, quite frankly, I could still foresee them being packaged together in some deal, being sent somewhere. And I think, again, the reason why it's Bagley over Wiseman is because Wiseman just has the friendlier deal. He's younger. There's still that, some more of that unseen and untapped potential, for a lack of better terms. But, I think it is important to remember, like, to your point, like, it wasn't just Wiseman that got a raw deal when he was drafted. Like the Kings almost right away just treated Marvin Bagley with absolute buyer's remorse because he wasn't Luka Doncic day one. And, and obviously, like, you don't just place the fault on one side. There's obviously multiple different things that lead to that happening. But I mean, this is the Sacramento Kings we're talking about. Like, no offense to them at all, but I mean, they make the Lions look like the Bill Belichick Patriots, my guy. Like,
bro, you're preaching, man. Like, I love every time I have you on the pod, man. Like, that's why I can't wait for Kool-Aid and the Murph.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on the Woodward Pistons pod, especially to be with my Rod father for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Look, we're all disciples of the Rod father. You, Jeff, myself, and Mike
Amen.
Curtis and others.
Amen.
And he's a good person. That you talk about people to emulate. Rod Beard, both professionally and as a person, is somebody to emulate. He just is. And I've been grateful for his mentorship. I've been grateful for his tutoring. I've been grateful for him being patient with me. He has shown me how to be a better person as well. And honestly, I it's been a blessing in my life. I'm a faith in Jesus believer. And so when I see those types of characteristics in other people, man, I love it. And
now I'm just thinking of Rod and 12 Detroit beat writers just walking downtown and going fishing. You know what I mean? Like, I just got that image in my head.
Like me, you, Sean, me, you, Jeff, Mike, John Neo from Detroit News. Like, all of us is there, just like,
yeah, we all got our fishing poles, and Rod's like, all right, let's go, gang.
I can't wait for the content. Sean, your mind is brilliant, bro. It's so fast. I appreciate you, man, making the time. This was awesome, brother. Bro. Let me get Sean's thoughts before we wrap this thing up, man. What's on your mind about and give me one, just whatever thought, whether it's sports, whether it's Pistons or not, and then we'll close on your Pistons thought.
Ooh, man. I think the NBA season coming up, my biggest thing looming, one of the things that's being talked about is load management, is getting players on the court, like the league trying to to discipline and find rules and find ways to incentivize players over an 82 game season. I think for me, where I'm at is, what do we do with the regular season? Because if you're at a point where 82 games You have to incentivize some of your players to actually compete, to actually have reason to go out on a night-to-night basis and actually go out and ball. Like, there are some guys like Cade Cunningham where you don't have to tell them anything, where it's just, "Hey, there's a hoop, go out and play." And the stakes are gonna be high each and every single time.
Yep.
But, when you look in contrast and, in particular, because when people talk about load management and when people talk about players sitting out, Kool-Aid, we're one of the cities that players sit out in. Let's not hide. Let's not dash from it. It's Memphis, it's Detroit, it's Charlotte, it's Indiana. It's all these small market teams that don't matter as much to the people in the big cities because they're the ones that have the Lakers, the Knicks. And I'm not saying that, that players can't rest. Absolutely. Things, like, it is impossible to expect these guys to play each and every single night and then be ready to go in the playoffs. But what's the solution then? Because we need, we need the season to matter. And especially, like, let's be honest, as Pistons fans, we're the 20 teens, that's all we had is the regular season. And so, like, I think I'm excited to see the in-season tournament. I'm excited to see, some of these elements and solutions. I think especially I'm optimistic because a lot of the young stars that we have coming up are guys that just want to hoop at all causes. And I think a lot of the guys that, that do have that reputation for not, for sitting out as much or sitting out more, I think those guys are more, are less the rule and more so the exception. But at the same time, I mean, when you have to tell your fan base why the regular season matters, that just has me worried about the game, man. I mean, it is succeeding and thriving in literally every other way.
Yep.
We just need to get people to have a reason to tune in on a Tuesday or Thursday in December or January, because until then, I mean, people are just going to focus on football until the season's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When you tell your
think,
fans
bro.
that something doesn't matter as much, they're going to believe you.
Why are they going to make something more important than what you should make it? They're just
Exactly.
not, man, look, man, I try and teach my kids the same thing. Like, you got to respect yourselves, you have to respect your process, you have to respect your family, you have to respect your things, or else other people will not. I tell them with
Right.
their backyard, like, you guys get out there and clean up your backyard. Don't let other people trash your yard. Leave their trash in your yard, and then they go home because you guys will be cleaning it up. It is what it is. It's a certain aspect of pride that's not about confidence, but or cockiness, but pride that's about confidence in what you're doing and how it affects everything going forward. Like, I respect the take, man. Like, I didn't know where you're gonna go, and it was just like I feel that, man. Being at that arena last year, and I bought tickets and things for my son to be there. Obviously,
Yeah.
he gets going, but to see him looking forward to certain players, and they're just resting, it's just like, man. He's like, oh, okay, and your team
And
lose,
that happens all the time.
and the
All
Pistons lose on top of that. It's just like I ain't like, if he lose, at least let me see LeBron James dunking on somebody. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's like, and listen, like, and again, no one's saying that, that players have to get through injuries or that they can never rest. But when you're the Clippers and you have Kawhi and Paul George out of the lineup, and you have people all over the country that, like, because it is every single arena, like, the moral aspect of these fans are paying for upcharged tickets, because it's not like these games are being marketed with these guys getting sat out. Let's be honest, Kool-Aid, these games are being sold because these guys are coming.
Yep. It's
And
how they market it. When the packages come and they say get your season tickets, it's saying, oh, you want the weekend package, or do you want the superstar package, or do you want the this package or the that? They tell you this, and you go and you book your tickets, or you say, I'm going to buy for this night. This is a good Saturday night game to go to, and then
that's not the Pistons' fault. That's not the team's fault. That's not those marketing people's fault.
It's not the Pistons' fault.
Yeah, that's on those franchises for blatantly saying some games matter more than others. And I think, quite frankly, I think as the league gets more and more talented, and I think as we see more and more parity, I think you're going to get punished more as you do that, because I mean, Kool-Aid, even Charlotte's not an easy win now.
No.
You have
No.
LaMelo Ball. Yeah, you have a lot of athletes in there, even guys like Miles Bridges, who you could say what you want about the person, but when he's healthy and on the court,
We've seen
dynamic.
bad people or whatever you feel about people, they can still do work. If they're on the roster and they're eligible to play, they're still going to make a difference for their team, and it will impact yours.
Garbage human, not a garbage player. You know what I mean?
Nope. Yeah.
So
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
So I think I think overall, I do think, with things like I do think the in-season tournament will help in the long term. I am excited for that. And especially I think for teams like the Pistons as well, I think it can actually be, a great opportunity to, to see if you can get yourself in important basketball, in consequential basketball, because not every team is going to have that opportunity. So I think it's going to be great reps. And so I'm excited for this season. I hope, I hope we find a solution at some point, because I just want the season to matter again, man. I want the players to take it with that same intensity and that same seriousness, because back in the day, obviously I think with the social media age and, with how much these players have, have money and power and ability to do things outside of the game, back in the day, these games were these players' moments to shine. These games were their only opportunity. Now, you could be seen at any moment, right? So, perhaps that's part of it. But, again, some of the best moments in the game happen in the regular season, and I want it to stay that way, man.
Yep. Sean, man, you've brought a good passion to today's show, man. A lot of knowledge, your humor, your wit, and you've definitely helped to elevate the show today. I'm grateful to have you on here, brother, and it continues to make me excited for what we have ahead, bro. Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me, man. This was fun. It was good to chop it up again.
It was. I'm glad that, like you said, you made the time. Sean had some meetings and everything. Because look, guys, Sean's a businessman, man. He handles his business. He said, "Look, Kool-Aid, I can fit you in this morning." Nah, he was ready to go. He was like, "Man, I'm excited. Let's rock, man."
I'm waiting. I'm hoping one day that I'm not a businessman. I want to be a business man.
Let's rock. Let's rock. Well, look, guys, this was fun. Hey, I'm gonna implore you guys, please follow From Half Court on YouTube. Follow Sean. What's your Twitter, man?
Sean Half Court.
Sean
That
Half
is
Court.
my X account.
Oh, yeah, the X. And what's the IG? Is it the same?
Yep.
Hey,
I by the way, did you hear Elon's going to try to charge everyone for Twitter now?
Ugh. Well, at least we're already ahead of the curve.
Yep, rip Twitter. But anyway,
get rid of it. Threads is calling my name. I think so, bro.
Yeah.
Well, look, let me get this thing closed up. This was awesome. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate Rod, and we're gonna continue to until Piston season comes back around. We're gonna continue to keep Jeff ever present on this show.
Yes, sir.
Don't quit on the Lions either, right? Don't quit on them, man. Let's take this season one game at a time.
Man. Yeah.
Have fun this year. Have the real good pressure, because this is a team that has real expectations this year.
We got 15 more Sundays to feel exuberant joy and extreme depression. So let's make the most of those 15 opportunities.
Yes, sir. Well, Sean, thank you as always. You know, man, I'm gonna do a drum roll for you today, man, before we end this thing. Before we do that, look, my name is Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, and you guys have been rocking with the Woodward Pistons podcast on the Woodward Sports Network. Please hit the like and the subscribe button, especially if you've been waiting around this long with us. I hope that you guys have already hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely, again, go and follow Sean at Sean Half Court and From Half Court on YouTube. And please, you guys continue to support Jeff Iafredi and Detroit News Rod Beard as well. Till next time, y'all.